All right, so we are here with Neri. Hi, Neri.
Hey, Neri, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to have you on the summit. Like we were very keen to learn about what you're doing, and there's a lot of people here who are waiting to see this talk. So all these people tuned up to see you because they're interested in the bank and everything that you guys are doing over there.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. We're always happy to tell the story. There's lots happening at Tinkoff in Russia, so happy to spread the word. Absolutely, and thanks for having us again.
yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, we had other speakers from other banks, but the curiosity around this one is enormous. So a lot of people are curious. They want to hear, they want to learn. So maybe we start with a little bit of background about you. What did you do before? What led you to the position you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked for Morgan Stanley as a research analyst for 7 years. Always more or less linked with Russia. I covered several sectors, but for the last 4 years of my career, I covered financial services across the EMEA region, so Middle East, Central and Eastern Europe, and Russia. So I was one of the analysts covering Tinkoff, and really it was one of the few companies that I covered where I really thought they were doing something genuinely different and disruptive and to some extent even revolutionary. And so when I heard that they were looking for someone to help, help their international investor relations efforts, to help communicate the story, I jumped at the opportunity. I've always had I'm personally Italian, but I've always had a personal link with Russia. I lived in Russia as a kid, and I started working there. So for me, working with Russia, with Russians, is quite natural. So it was just a natural consequence of events, and it's been a very eventful. Now probably about 10 months. They've flown by. It's been incredibly interesting.
Amazing. And tell us a bit maybe about the ecosystem, the banking sector in Russia. What was there before? I mean, what's the ecosystem look like over there?
Yeah, look, I think perhaps it's worth doing a little bit of history because the ecosystem is a story of the last few years for Tinkoff, but we've been disrupting the market basically ever since 2006 when Oleg Tinkoff, our majority shareholder, founded the group. And we started as a credit card monoliner. So a little bit of a Capital One in Russia, wholesale funded. And at the time, we were still using direct mail as our main channel because this was before the word fintech was that popular and even used, right? But obviously, that business model changed quite quickly. It changed on the funding side and it changed on distribution channels because obviously the internet started becoming the main channel to acquire customers, to service customers, etc. So we created our main acquisition platform as Tinkoff.ru, our website. And we started acquiring customers for credit cards and a bit of deposits and current accounts. And with time, we built a platform that was composed of origination, servicing, fulfillment, all the right pieces of the puzzle. And we were very, very good at selling credit cards, but we also had this hypothesis that, well, we've got a lot of customers, a lot more customers coming from mass affluent background, more urban, digital, that were using the app more because obviously at the time we also started developing the app. And so these customers had a different kind of need, perhaps another credit need that wasn't a credit card need or perhaps more transactional need. And so we launched a whole set of products to diversify the business away from the credit cards, which remain a main part of the business. But on the credit side now, we offer all sorts of unsecured products like cash personal loans or point of sale lending. And then we even went into secured lending to offer car loans and home equity loans. But also very importantly, we built a whole set of transactional businesses. It started off with a current account, which became our main customer acquisition platform, a very rich debit card plus mobile app combo, if you want, similar to what you see, I guess, in Europe with the neobanks. But that became just a customer acquisition channel for us to then cross-sell a lot of the credit products and then all these other transactional products. We have a retail brokerage platform within the group, which has become the largest retail brokerage platform in Russia. We've got more than 2.5 million customers. We have an SME transactional business, so current account payments and all sorts of software solutions for SMEs, and we have more than 500,000 customers. We created an online acquirer So we actually help business process and receive payments online, and we're the third, probably soon the second largest online acquirer in Russia. And then all sorts of other things. I mean, we have a mobile network operator, so you can get a Tinkoff SIM card. We have an insurance arm, so we are underwriting predominantly car insurance. And so basically between IPO, because obviously we're a listed company, between IPO and the last year or so, we built out these verticals, we tested the economics, and we said, okay, these are the businesses we want to be in. And now it's a matter of putting them all together, making sure that ecosystem is more than just a buzzword. It's a place where customers have a lot more value inside than outside. It's a place where all transactions are very smooth. And it's a place where when the customer comes in from any one angle, could be debit card, credit card, insurance, they can navigate very easily, and we can put the right product at the right time, at the right price in front of them. Predominantly, again, through the app, which has become our main source of interaction and increasingly also acquisition. We've got more than 20 million downloads, 2.5 million DAO, almost 7 million MAU, and it keeps growing almost exponentially, I would say. And in order to get to your point about the ecosystem, it's not just enough to have a bunch of services in one app. You need to create engagement. You need to create that willingness for the customer to actually open the Tinkoff app every day. And there's only so many times you can check your balance and transfer money to your mom. So we had to come up with a way to entice the customers to actually come to the app. And the way we thought about it and the way we have a hypothesis, which I think has been tested and proven to be true, is by creating lifestyle services. So now through the app, you can do all the financial services that you would expect from a bank, but you can also book cinema tickets. You can book theater tickets. We have our own travel agent, so you can do booking of all sorts of hotels, flights, and of that sort. You can do e-commerce. So we've integrated with certain marketplaces in Russia, the latest one being goods.ru, where you can buy an iPhone, you can buy a fridge, you can do everything through this platform. You can book a fitness class, you can book sports events, you can order someone to come clean your house, you can buy insurance, you can buy kids' toys. I mean, we continuously add. I think now we've got about 20-25 services, and we launch them on a regular basis, and it's actually done through a technology where we don't even need to update the app. It's just automatically updated in the app for the customer. And so these are services that the customer can use on an everyday basis. These are services that we purposefully don't monetize. So we give a lot of perks and make the experience very satisfying for the customer, both from a interface, meaning it's very easy and smooth to do it, but also financially, because we give cash back to basically for all of these services. If you buy something on goods.ru, you get 5% cash back on your transaction. If you buy a cinema ticket, you'll get 10% cash back. So we purposefully run it on a kind of a break-even level because we want to make that experience very satisfying, so that the customer keeps coming in. We get more data, they're aware of more of the products, and we really create those network effects that are key to an ecosystem. Because a lot of players, they call it an ecosystem and then they just put a bunch of things in an app, and you can open them, and maybe it's even a bit difficult to find them, but you don't create that engagement. And perhaps the last thing I would say before, otherwise I can keep talking for a long time, is that I would say that the Russian ecosystem market, or the ecosystem, the various ecosystems that we see in Russia is very well advanced. So much more advanced, I would say, than what we see in Europe and in the developed world. Perhaps not as advanced as you see in Asia. I mean, if you look at the WeChats, the Alipays, and the Asian super apps, we're getting close, I think. But in Russia, you've got ourselves, you've got Sberbank, which is another very well capable and very digital government-owned bank that has been building an ecosystem similar in a slightly different way to how we're doing it, but with kind of the same or similar idea behind it. And then you've got some of the local tech giants, Yandex and Mail.ru, which are also trying to create their own ecosystems. Obviously, we come at it from a financial core. They come at it from a different kind of core. So perhaps, Yandex is more about the search functions. while mail is more about the social media functions. But it's a very interesting place to be because there's a huge amount of innovation, and you've got all these very capable players with very high quality talent developing all sorts of innovative services. So I would say that the Russian consumer is quite spoiled from that perspective relative to a lot of European customers.
And you're based, you yourself, you're based in London?
Yeah,
Europe?
so I'm so everything that Tinkoff does is in Russia. So the headquarters is in Russia. All the operations are in Russia. I am the only London employee. It's a function of the role that I have, which is international investor relations, and obviously a lot of our investor base is local to the UK, or UK is a little bit closer to the US, where we have an increasing number of investors. And also because my role is in part that of to put it simply, a bit of a networking role to make sure that we are aware of what's happening in other parts of the world and other finance, fintechs and tech companies. And so it's a little bit easier to do from Europe, I would say, from the UK than in Russia.
Yeah. Because you mentioned that from your experience and you actually know the market. It's more advanced than Europe, like the offering that you have in Russia. And that's
absolutely.
why
If I would show you the mobile app, and actually I even had a conversation with a European investor earlier today, and I was showing him the app, and he was blown away because there's nothing like it in Europe. There are some players that are trying to replicate or do something similar, but it's a little bit behind. And again, we look more to the east if we need inspiration than we look to the west.
Exactly. So a lot of people are saying, look to the east. If you're looking for the inspiration, you want to see where the direction is going, and that was very important for us to have Russia here in the conversation, and that's why it's so important that I mean we tend to focus on the UK, and other, but I think that the innovation is certainly there, the brains, right? The brains.
Absolutely. I mean, we are of the opinion that. I mean, it's a consequence of the very heavily skewed education system towards mathematics, sciences, and so Russia produces incredibly, and a lot of the Soviet Union, for that matter, produces a lot of very high quality engineers, software engineers, and it's no secret that some of the European fintechs also try to open offices in Russia and some of these countries to actually source some of this talent. We think we've created one of the go-to brands and companies that these kind of IT specialists want to work in. It's very much a brand and an image that is not bank-like, because no engineer comes out of university saying, I want to work for a bank. And so we compete for talent with the tech companies rather than with the banks. And it obviously takes a lot of work to create that image, and it needs to be substantiated by what the company actually creates. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, we have 4,000 people in our headquarters, roughly, between the Moscow headquarters and the various development hubs that we've created all over Russia, and about 3,000 of them are a combination of software engineers, IT specialists, analysts, data scientists. So incredibly tech heavy, as you would expect for a company that's creating a digital financial and lifestyle ecosystem, and yeah.
Is there another question? Is there like a conversation over there about open banking, about all these stuff that you see in the UK, or is still
not as much? It's a bit of a function of the fact that the Russian market is a lot younger, so there are fewer barriers to break down. It's not like perhaps in the UK, where you've had a relationship with a bank for for decades and decades, and the bank really holds on to the relationship and doesn't let the customer go. In Russia, it's very common for people to have more than one bank account across various banks. The services are a lot more digital, so you can very easily do everything that you need to do without actually having the regulator necessarily impose something from that front. The regulator is very active on different parts of the ecosystems and the digital services and financial services, but I would say that open banking is just not as much of a necessity or something that the regulator needs to address in Russia.
Mm-hmm. And so how does a big company like that operates, and how do they stay relevant? How do they come up with these neat features that you described? You described it, the rewards. and others.
Mhm.
Like when you see other like smaller like neobanks that are trying in niche markets, like targeting SMEs, targeting freelancers, targeting, like we see a lot of these neobanks around the world. And on this summit, we interviewed some of them that are taking one segment and trying to serve a specific segment.
Mhm.
So how does a big giant, company like that stay relevant in terms of branding, in terms of, reaching to customers with innovative ideas and stuff? Maybe you can talk about acquisitions, companies that you acquired, or
Mhm.
how do you stay relevant?
Yeah, no, very good question. And I'll start from the end, simply to completely exclude the fact that for us, acquisitions and M&A has always been something that we've done very, very rarely. We always we like to do things ourselves, and historically we found out that most things that we do ourselves are actually better than when we partner up with others. But that's a separate question. Look, I think a lot of it comes down to the DNA of the company. We are an incredibly entrepreneurial company with a very entrepreneurial spirit, partly a function of who founded the company, the kind of Russian serial entrepreneur, who instilled in everybody this ownership of what they're doing, this willingness to own the product, own the service, and own whatever you're creating. And then that kind of evolves into an organizational structure, which obviously you need to put in place, especially as a business grows, that helps delegate. So it's a very flat structure, where everybody can question anything to anyone. So anyone, there's no filters if you want. It's a very direct culture, and very flat in that we have people that really own their own mini business or mini product, if you want. So, I mentioned a few of the products and services that we have within the group. And so we have business leaders that are responsible for each product. So head of credit cards, head of cash loans, head of brokerage, et cetera, et cetera. They have their own tech team. They've got their own UX experts. They've got their own analysts. They run it basically as a mini business. Of course, rely on some of the services and functions that the bigger Tinkoff group provides in terms of risk management, in terms of IT, in terms of HR and all the legal, et cetera. But they're very much responsible for their own business. They've got their own P&L, which is very important. We pride ourselves in the fact that we are one of the few fintechs that actually make money, and we're not ashamed of it. And we create returns for our shareholders, and that goes very deep in the organization at the level of a business line that has its own P&L and therefore is responsible for the performance of the business. And then, of course, we have equity ownership in the company. So management owns 6.5% of the company. We're deepening that in the organization. And so there's a real sense of ownership and entrepreneurialism in the company. And I think that's key, because that allows us to be very direct, time to market that is very quick. And we're always being very, one of the first ones when we decide from deciding to think about a project to launch, we're very, very efficient. And again, it's that direct, no filter, no barriers, no bureaucracy culture that allows it, I think.
So you're moving fast. If you find something, an opportunity, you have the ability to move fast. And
absolutely. And we apply this, we have this philosophy internally, which we call test and learn, which is a constant series of tests. Everybody can go and test something. There's no fear of making a mistake, because if you're not making a mistake, it means you're not trying. So we obviously apply a very scientific approach to it. So you need to run your tests, A/B tests. You need to collect the data. You need to make sure that your hypotheses are proven right. But if we see that the tests are coming in positive and the tests and the hypothesis is proven right, we can scale up things very quickly. And I think that's one of the key reasons why we've been so successful, is that whenever we smell a trend or we see something moving in the distance, we can go for it very quickly.
Amazing. I can go on and drill down to the features and everything, and it's so exciting. That's we don't tend to use. I mean, I'm not living in the app store of Russia, so I cannot use these apps, and we're testing a lot of these. Me and my colleagues are testing a lot of these neobanks and banks, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the number of clicks. Sometimes people are counting number of clicks or the onboarding experience or how fast it is to open a bank. So tell me, how is it to open an account with you? Tell me, how is the experience inside? How easy it is compared to the old ages? What's new over there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, from an onboarding perspective, Russia has some peculiarities because to this day you need physical KYC to actually open an account if you have not already had a product with a financial services company. So we're obviously branchless. We don't have any branches, but you can apply for a product through the app, but then we still need to have a physical meeting with you because otherwise we can't complete the KYC requirements that the central bank wants us to complete. And so that actually leads me to talk about a part of the business that is almost logistics in nature. Actually, it's very much logistics in nature because we have more than 3,000 smart couriers all over Russia. One of probably the largest logistics and companies, if you put it on a standalone basis in Russia. And anywhere in Russia within 24 hours, and I mean, think about how big Russia is and how extensive and what kind of logistical capabilities that requires. Within 24 hours of your application, we will meet you in person. We will deliver the product. You'll sign. We'll do all the pictures or whatever needs to be done, identification for the central bank, and then off you go. And obviously, that's something that's very. There's a lot of work that goes in the background to make sure that goes very smoothly. And in the large cities like Moscow or St. Petersburg, now we're down to a couple of hours actually within applications to have the delivery of the product. So inevitably, it's not as easy as it is, in Europe with a lot of these apps. But unfortunately, I would say unfortunately we can't go, the full digital way. But on the other hand, it's a very good barrier to entry because if you don't have a branch network or you don't have a courier network, you can't basically enter the market. It's very tough to enter the market. Of course, innovation is catching up, and so we have found ways that we can at least do some kind of preliminary onboarding with customers. So, for example, our current account, Tinkoff Black. If you want a fully fledged current account, you need to have a meeting with our courier. But we have developed a product effectively, which is a prepaid debit card with certain restrictions on how much money you can put in and how much money you can spend per month, etc. But that basically works like how it works in Europe, where you just do everything from the app and you download a virtual card and off you go. You can use it. Then, if you want to convert it into a fully fledged current account, you still need to have a physical meeting. But at least you can see that innovation is helping out on that front. On the Tinkoff investment side, our retail brokerage, we can already do identification remotely, so you can open everything digitally. And I don't have the number of clicks, but it's a very smooth process, and I think that's proven by the fact that we're acquiring hundreds of thousands of customers every month. And a lot of these products, especially the current account and Tinkoff investments, and these products that have some virality potential, the customer acquisition costs are very low. So if you think about our Tinkoff Black product, the current account, more than 80% of customers are coming for unpaid. So it's word of mouth, it's people hearing of Tinkoff and trying it out. Because the product is just it's easy to onboard. The product itself is very satisfying and very rich of services and perks. And the servicing is incredible because we've always tried to differentiate ourselves with better service. So you can always speak to someone 24/7, whether through the app or through the phone, etc.
Amazing. Yeah, when you said what is the premium like let's say card? Just because I'm curious, because you said Tinkoff Black, or is it
no? So we have a Tinkoff Black debit card.
Yeah.
It's just called Tinkoff Black, but that's a fully fledged current account for which you need to have a physical meeting with a courier. What we've come up with is what we call a prepaid card, which has some limits, again, in terms of transactions, top-ups, etc., which you can open remotely without the need of a physical meeting. Then if you want to convert it, you need to have a physical meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have a kind of premium debit card, I guess you can think of some of the kind of metal options that you see in Europe.
Yeah.
but obviously it's a very small part of the business compared to the mass current account. I mean, we have over 9 million current account customers. The premium, I think, is maybe like 50,000, but don't quote me on don't quote me on that. I'm on tape, but keep that number with a pinch of salt.
Yes. Yeah, and virtual cards that you mentioned before are pretty popular right now.
Yeah, I mean, but that's
very convenient,
very popular and convenient, but also a very kind of simple function. I mean, I think that most banks at this point have it, so it's not really a differentiating factor. And if you're not providing virtual cards, you're probably living in the Stone Age,
or in Israel. Unfortunately, yeah. I hope keeping an eye on all these fintechs. Lastly, before we have to finish, any update or something that you can share with us, or something that if you can share with us, or how can people find you? How can people contact you? Because you're like the go-to guy in a lot of markets. So people come to you, I guess, with offers. They want to work with. They want to do something.
Yeah, look, we're always willing to listen, right? So, at least so. You can reach out to us at ir@tinkoff.ru at any time. And look, perhaps I'll give you a little bit of sense of our ambitions and what we want to do over the next few years. Because right now we've got 11 million customers in our ecosystem, more than 11 million. We think we can grow that to 20 million plus over the next 3 years, and we know how to do it. We've got the right products, the combination of viral products and products that we need to actually go out and acquire customers. And very importantly, we want to do more business with each customer. So we have very stringent criteria how we define this, but on average, a Tinkoff customer has got about 1.3 products with us. It's been growing very quickly, and the share of customers that has 2 or more products with us is already 30%, but we think we can increase that further. And we're at 1.3 now. We think we can do at least 1.6, 1.7 in a few years' time. So that means effectively more than doubling the business if you think 11 to 20 and then 1.3 to 1.7. And we're just at the beginning. We're just getting started. As I said, we've been very busy building out the various business lines, and now it's about making sure they really come in together. So it's very exciting times ahead, and we'll see how it goes. But we're confident that we can create a very, very good lifestyle and financial services ecosystem.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I know you've been very busy, and you found time to come here today and show the face of the bank, be accessible, be reachable. And I'm sure lots of people who are watching us right now would love to reach, to at least be curious, to understand that there is innovation, that there is a lot of innovation, and a lot to learn.
And I would say profitable innovation as well.
Oh, that's exactly.
Just as perhaps a last reminder of something that we're obviously particularly proud of. We made over $500 million of net income last year, 55% ROE, and we apply a very strict NPV approach to everything that we do. We maximize the NPV of our investments, and that means, and we're basically showing that you don't need to compromise on profitability to innovate. And it's a message that we obviously are very proud to communicate to everybody.
I got this message, and thank you very much for the time. And
our pleasure.
I hope to see you soon in face-to-face.
Sounds good. Take care, Neri.
Thank you very much.